You know what I love, man?
What?
It's like we've gotten more professional, but there's definitely still a weasel smoking a cigar behind us.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great. Thank God.
3, 2, 1, bro.
What's up, everybody? My name is Michael Lee Murphy, and this is why I love board games. We just like go on and on about board games. People are like, we get it, you like them, but why? Not just what we like, but why do we like board games? And this is something that Nick and I occasionally like to talk about and meditate on, and you know, there's a lot of really groovy stuff that this hobby provides, and it's easy in life to focus on things that are getting you down and the negativity and all that, and so it's good to give as much time as you give to those thoughts, give that much time to positive thoughts and thinking. We're all about positivity here and letting heart at the Brothers Murph. So, why do I love board games? One humongous reason is simply stories. Okay? Now that for me means many different things. Number one, games themselves often tell great tales. They're just really interesting, and you have an interesting theme, and especially if the mechanics are integrated well so that everything you're doing is serving the theme of the game. Like, that to me just transports me and gets my imagination going, where now I've got a lot going on, and everything's firing in the brain. An example of a game that we got recently that we've been playing that really just the mechanics themselves get me into the story is Root. So Root is all about like this woodland area that has all this strife. Basically, the Marquita cat has built up this empire and took over the forest from the Erie, which are these eagles. And then there's like little rabbits or mice who are trying to like raise the alliance, and the vagabond is like a little raccoon running around doing a bunch of crazy stuff. So it's all kind of silly. It's a really asymmetrical game, but so many things in that game are actually very thematically pleasing based on the characters that you can play as. So you have the Marquita cat, which at the beginning of the game seems like this player has just way too many advantages. They have all this stuff on the board already. They have this whole engine going. It's not fair. But I'm like, but thematically, that's what happened in the story, is the Marquita cat took over the forest, has built up this big empire, and is already kind of running things. So now it's my job as one of the other factions. I have to overcome that. And it's serving the story, and it gets me invested right away. And then you have the Erie, which are the birds who used to rule the forest, and they kind of fell apart, and they came upon bad times, and they couldn't get their life together. And so their whole thing is like, we're going to follow a decree, we're going to build ourselves back up, we're going to retake our land. But also, like, they can't figure out who's going to lead them. So in the game, you have to follow this decree, which becomes increasingly more difficult to satisfy, because you have to add cards, which means you have to like build roosts, you have to battle, you have to move, you have to recruit, you have to do all these things. And if you get all these rounds in without ever falling into turmoil, it's impossible. There's just no way, because you have to move 4 times, you have to go over here, and you have to battle 5 times. And what if there's no one to battle? Well, you fall into turmoil. And it's very difficult, and it's very frustrating, and it sets you back. But again, that's the story they're telling. And so I can't even be mad when I go into turmoil, because I'm just like, God, it's a great story. I love it. I'm a storyteller. Anything and everything to do with telling stories just gets me going, man. So it gets me very excited. The other side to that is whether or not you're playing a game that tells a story, or you can even imagine one. That's something I often do, is just think of, you know, what's actually happening if this was a real world situation. You're playing a great game, it's a tight race, and someone finally does this one big move at the end. They overcome against all their friends. Ha 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 ha, I am the victor. And you have a great story to tell later. So we're getting stories from the stories, and we're getting stories from the stories of the game, and then getting stories from playing the games. And there's lots of stories, and then we're all having a good time creating memories and stuff like that. So that's one of the reasons that I love board games. I love telling stories, I love making memories, I love having things to think back on, and just anywhere you go in board gaming, stories are going to happen. Oh man, this thing happened that reminded me of this one time I played over here, and I met these weird people from Germany, and we just like played this great game, and blah blah blah, all this stuff happened. Now we're all having a good time around a table, telling tales, sharing mythos, all these things. It really takes me back to, you know, the root of it all, of us as humanity. You know, removing any sort of idea of gender or race or nationality or anything, just being people. What have people done since the beginning of time? Told stories. It's just something that has always resonated very deeply with me and is very, very important. And it's just one of the things that has absolutely kept me in board gaming, made me want to go deeper into board gaming, is the shared experience of playing games at the table, the stories that can be told from a game, through a game, things that you can create yourself, innovation, imagination, all those great things. Those are just some of the most amazing things for me that keep me excited about this hobby. What are some things that you love about board games? What keep you in the hobby? What gets you excited to get up and play a game? Let me know in the comments below why you love board games. I want to play games, Nick.
Okay.
Nick and I are going to play games now. Speaking of stories, real quick, before I go, on Mondays, we're going to be doing a campaign-based stream on Twitch, and the first thing we're doing is Near and Far, which is all about stories and telling stories. So please come join us, because I really love reading out those tales and discovering the world as the characters. We're going to be doing that over many weeks. You can get invested in an ongoing story, which is something I'm super excited to try. So please join us there at live.thebrothersmurph.com every Monday to see us play Near and Far, and then go into another campaign and continue other stories from other lands. Woo! We'll see you in the next video, guys. Cheers. Such a cool video, right? Man, there's jokes, and I know what happened in this one for sure. So because of that, check out Restoration Games. They sponsor us, and there's info for them in the description below. There's also more things where I'm doing funny stuff. Sometimes Nick is funny, because I've seen all these